recent news, the Eswatini monarchy. Kumkani and its government have asked the Mpumalanga High Court to rule that Swaziland news editor Zwemart, an exiled journalist they accuse of defaming them with dozens of widely improbable stories, is guilty of terrorism. They also want the court to order that the Swaziland news can only publish stories on them after they have seen the articles and been given 7 days to respond to them. The claim that Swaziland news editor Zwemart is guilty of terrorism because he and his publication clearly support the Swaziland International Solidarity Forces, a group aligned with the extremist faction of Eswatini pro-democracy movement. Help us understand this. This does not sound right. Is it right or is it wrong? Give us context. Share with us what is happening.
Well, to be honest with you, I think this court action is quite silly. I can't see what it seeks to achieve. Perhaps in taking him to court, they're hoping that they'll shut him up. But I think the government which is driving the case just is out of touch with reality. It's a very silly case that is bringing attention to government in an unnecessary way, and the king, of course. But essentially, the advent, if you like, or the rise of Zwemart is part of the broader story of media suppression in the country. Thulani and I went to jail in 2014 because of the things we wrote, and it scared everybody. And there have been other instances. We've just had the Prime Minister make threats against, and he's hardly 3 months in the office, and he's already making threats against the media. So what has happened is some people like Zweli have moved to online publications. He apparently lives in South Africa now. He left the country, and they are able to feed the public with what is going on in government. And I guess because they have no control over him, they are trying to use the South African system to shut him up because they can't do it, from here. And for me, I just don't see what it seeks to achieve. If it ever goes to court, I'm not sure if they'll get what they want. And he's quite a resilient guy, and they're just pumping him up unnecessarily if you look at it from their perspective. But I suppose it's desperation, because one of the things that obviously the country has suffered from is bad publicity. Here we are talking because of what you've heard about the country, and it hurts them, I guess. But it's a totally unnecessary court action.
You say he apparently lives in South Africa. Put differently, is it possible that somebody who is courting the monarch's attention and the agents of the monarch the way that he has, this is now Zweli Dlamini, is it possible for somebody who would be probably as critical of the monarch as, say, our late comrade to whom we referred earlier on, would be and could be living in Eswatini and moving freely?
Well, look, I'll tell you one thing. I've been a journalist for 36 years now, and I've written a lot of many articles criticizing the king. Thulani wrote a hell of a lot too in his columns. He wasn't a journalist, but he was a columnist for my magazine. And when we got arrested, actually what happened was we got arrested, and then we were released by another judge, because they didn't see what the fuss was about. And during that period when we were free, which was about 3 days, we discussed the question of whether we should make a run for it or should stick around. And we didn't even debate it. We said we're not going to go anywhere. This is our home, and we're going to stick around for what we believe in. So that was our choice. You could say, but he more than I did, because he was more involved in the politics of the country. I do it more as a writer. He was not just a writer. He was not just a lawyer. He was the guy who organized the politics to call for change. And he did worry about his life and getting killed. But he always said, I'd rather die here than die elsewhere. So he never wanted to go anywhere. But that doesn't mean we don't criticize. I think the problem with the government, with Zweli not being available for them, maybe to call into an office or even arrest, is the frustration that is driving them to this, what I think is
Why
is
would
a
there
very...
be a need to do that? Final question, 30 seconds.
Well, he has published some serious bombshells about things that are happening, some of which, to be honest, even us here...
Would it constitute fair comment? By journalistic
some
standards?
some of it not.
Very well.
You know, I don't want to judge that.
No, fair enough. No, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Look, Mr. Bheki Makhubu, I have to end it here and offer extreme gratitude to you for your time. I mean, I know certain things, especially in the context by which we are having this conversation, can't always be easy, but I appreciate you honoring the appointment with ourselves.
Sure.
Mr. Bheki Makhubu, editor of The Nation magazine in Eswatini, 2201. Good evening, everybody.